Hello, everyone. Good evening. We are very happy to be conducting a Radish.org design and development meeting. And I'm very happy to be joined by CP and Ram
Hi.
Gopal.
Hi.
Hey, yeah, say hello. How you guys doing? Ram Gopal and CP.
We are doing fine. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Alrighty, and Michael Gallo in Northern California. I'm here in Seattle, Washington, and welcome, Michael. How you doing?
Excellent. Thank you, Jamin. Doing very well. I must say you look excellent in your scarf this evening. Your festive scarf.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My queen gave me this scarf, so very happy to be wearing it.
Yes.
So, I'm really excited about the GitHub opportunity. And I was thinking we could sort of start to kind of chunk it out. And I'm really happy we're recording this because if we, choose to publish it, which I hope we do, we can, it's a great way for us to kind of present ourselves to the GitHub community and say, this is who we are, this is what we're up to, and this is what we'd like to achieve together with you all, right? I think that's very exciting. And I think, one of the sort of the essence of what makes this so special is we're being totally transparent about who we are and what we do and about our mission and what we think it's going to take to get there. And what could possibly be more exciting? What could possibly be more exciting than saving life on Earth? Using all kinds of technologies and using all kinds of practices and disciplines from the far reaches of humanity and the globe, bringing it all together under one giant tent of radical collective intelligence, layered with and supported by artificial intelligence of various kinds. I mean, this is the big challenge of our time. Not just of human history, but of all history, because all of life is at stake. All of life is on the table right now. So I think it's just a matter of time before this message goes far and wide. Over the hills and far away, to quote a great rock band, Led Zeppelin. Right? This message needs to go over the hills and far away.
Sure. It will be.
And yeah. And so, so let's dream big for a moment about what's possible and what we can do and how we can do it. Because getting to the how, getting to the brass tacks, what I would love to do is to design kind of a portfolio of projects to launch on GitHub, all of them simultaneously, because they're all mutually symbiotic. It's like a network of projects. And the way that we launch them is first by defining them, right? But let the process of defining them and describing them and envisioning what they can be, let that be a process. Let that process itself be open source, right? Yes. So the GitHub community is not just being invited in as developers. Hey, we've got this great idea. Why don't you help us develop it? But they're being invited in as partners. Right? As sisters and brothers, as partners all around the world. And we're saying, look, we've established a beachhead here with Radish.org. But now we need to take it, orders of magnitude bigger. And so I say we define the topics, and I can go ahead and whiteboard sketch up some. But once we have this, because the topics, they map to projects, right? We could equally well call it projects. But anyway, a topic is a project is a topic is a project. So we're talking about the same thing. So what do you guys think? I'm going to go on mute. Let you guys
just real quick. This is flash on the GitHub page real quick so people can see it. And then we'll come back to you. You want to just do that real quick?
You want to screen share and do that, Michael?
What's that?
Do you want to do that? Do you want to screen share and do that?
This is the new Radish GitHub page,
Yes.
and yeah, and we're just starting to fill it up with our people, our core people right now. That CP and Ram Gopal and Jamin and Michael Ghazi and Michael McCall, all that will all join here, and then other people too. Everyone's welcome. Everyone. So okay, back to you, Jamin.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for that, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what I'd like to do, I'm just getting my whiteboard up here, is just have a brainstorm on what are the projects that we'd like to kick off, first, second, third, or a whole bunch in parallel, really, is what I'd love to see. But I mean, what do you guys think? Does that sound like a good use of our time right now?
That sounds like a perfect plan. I love it. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. So let me screen share here. Okay. So, I think one of the obvious first one. Well, here's the thing. I kind of like looking at it from the topical perspective because, Gaz and I were talking about this yesterday, and I sent an email to everyone about it. Was that we should have a series. I'm just going to draw it like a series of conversations. We should have a series on the topic of radical collective intelligence. Think of it as radical collective intelligence for techies, basically. Right? Where we basically, pardon me?
A video series we're talking about.
Yeah, a video series. And in fact, this one could be the very first one. Why not? But it doesn't have to be. I mean, this can also just be a general meeting if we want it to be. But we'd have a series where this is where we really bring the world in with us as partners. And we say, look, we're not just going to have these really cool, fun strategy brainstorm meetings behind closed doors and then only publish to you all what we want you to help us with. No, we want to bring you into our living room and make a big pot of hot chocolate and sit down and say, okay, does anyone want something to smoke? Right? And then we get into it. Right? That's what I'm talking about. Like we really bring you in. That's where I'm coming from. So this would be a general one where we start out in the early sessions. We start out talking about what exactly RCI is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what we have developed so far. And then, here's where we're going. And, and then we get out to some really cool cutting edge stuff. And we plan out, which is really what we're doing right now. Right now we're kind of in this zone right here. We're kind of planning out where we're going and where's the cutting edge, because we want to define these as topics. I mean, there's some very basic sort of blocking and tackling that needs to be done. So another topic. So this is one, let's just call this one topic. Another topic is that of transcription, right? So, you've got a YouTube video. We need to transcribe it into text, right? That's just, I call it blocking and tackling because, it's super important. It needs to be done, but it's not necessarily the most, creative of projects unless you're really into that kind of thing. And that's where you like to express your creativity. And I guess that's who we're really looking for that one. So transcription to text. And then once we've got it, once we've got the text, that needs to be indexed, right? Indexed, or, you know, whatever the dimensional enhancement of indexed is. I'll just call it indexed plus plus. Like first there was C, then there became C++. Let's think indexed plus plus from the standpoint of radical collective intelligence and all that we're setting out to accomplish. Right? And then another topic is mapping the indexed text to the various taxonomies, right? And that begs for another topic to be opened up on the taxonomies themselves, right? And so, you know, we might have topic 5.1 being the teleological taxonomy called a whole world, right? Which ultimately, you know, the leaf nodes make it a taxonomy of needs, all the specific needs of a whole world. You've got another taxonomy, which is, I'll just call it the ways taxonomy, as you can learn about in any of the introductory videos to Radish. And then resource taxonomy, right? So, but anyway, and there's lots of other kinds of taxonomies. So anyway, that's a whole topic unto itself. Let's see. So we've talked about the taxonomies. Another big one is solutions, and really defining, you know, what constitutes a solution, and very importantly, how we might architect and map solutions programmatically, so that we can program it, right? We can program the representation of a solution. You know, that gets us to a whole other topic, which I'll just call it, you know, the ontology / natural language processing realm, right? Where, you know, we're really, you know, trying to get the AI to, you know, for lack of a better word, understand, you know, the written stuff, the text, the mappings, all this stuff. Anyway, we want to see, you know, what's the state of the art, what's the cutting edge, and how do we tap into that, so that we can do things like, let's call this Project Academia. And what we're talking about here is being able to take any document from the peer-reviewed academic journal literature, choosing my words very carefully, and so take any of these documents with all this text from the academic world, you know, something written by a couple of professors at a major university or whatever. What we want to do is we want to be able to index and map this data, this text, because here's the thing: these published papers are really conversations. Think of them as conversations. They're conversations where a tremendous amount of thought has gone into them. Okay. So if we're going to index and map, when we talk about map, we're talking about mapping these to our various taxonomies, right? And by the way, one whole thing about taxonomies, I'm just going to wedge it up here because it's important, is a topic. I won't even try to number it for now, but I'll just put T for topic, is the topic of, you know, the fractal nature of our taxonomies, the taxonomies we're working with, right? like a solution. It's, like at first glance, well, it consists of this and this and this. Well, one of the thises is a truck with, 17,000 parts. So, that's what I'm talking about when I say fractal, right? Okay. Anyway, more on that later. We're just making lists. We're not trying to go too deep on anything right now. But anyway, we want to map all this rich data, all this rich information to our various taxonomies, to the taxonomies of the needs of a whole world, right? The ways in which one of those needs can be met, taxonomies of resources, taxonomies of solutions, like we've talked about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Taxonomies of solutions. So we want to be able to map this stuff to all of our taxonomies, whatever it's talking about. They may be talking about a need and a new way of addressing that need. They may be talking about a new way of meeting some need. They may be talking about some new resource and its applications. They may be talking about some new solution. Excuse me. And, there'll be a parallel project, which will be the entire U.S. patent database, which is all publicly exposed, right? That'll be a whole other stack of documents, which will also need to be indexed and mapped. What's really beautiful about both of these, the patent database and Project Academia, every single one of these documents was absolutely pored over and perfected and reviewed and reviewed and reviewed before it was ultimately published, okay? By generally some very smart people, right? And so basically, between these, and we'll have another Project Wikipedia, right? And then I'm just going to put here, can you guys see the bottom line, what I'm writing there, okay?
Yes.
Okay. And then I'm just writing, and this, and this, and this, all these other sources that are going to ultimately end up going through the same indexing and mapping. Because ultimately, what are we trying to do here, right? Let me just freeform for a second. We're basically taking, all the information in the world that's worth anything, and we are basically digesting it, right? Think of how like a big cow, right? This isn't one of the world's great artistic works, but just imagine how like a big cow eats a bunch of grass, and inside of its stomach, it's digesting, right?
Yes.
Digesting. And I've heard like a cow has something like 7 stomachs or something like that, right? Anyway, after it digests it, all this wonderful golden milk and dairy products comes out, right? And, we are able to then take that and, turn it into, cheese and, curd and, all these wonderful dairy products, right? So we need basically a giant AI digester to digest all this information and really sort it out so that we can get all this wonderful golden stuff coming out the other end, right? And what that is for us is all that information, and that's why this project is so important, the ontology, natural language processing. We need to figure that out. We need to figure out, in general, all of our taxonomies, right? So we have, this is what there is to map to, right? This is the structure that we need to hang all this information on, right? This is this fractal structure that we need to hang all this information on that the AI cow is digesting, right? So we need to perfect the structure, And then we need to perfect the mapping. So, you know, here we basically need to have a really great structure to capture all this great milk that's coming out.
Yes.
Right? This is our, you know, our matrix. Think of it as a matrix of taxonomies, right?
Yes.
Taxonomies of what? Of topics. I'm going to go back to video because I've been hogging the microphone and everything for too long. So back to you, gentlemen. Going on mute.
Yes. The matrix will be the key point. If matrix is wrong, then everything will be messed up. So we need to keep focus on metrics, and it should be no error, or not a single point of error will be there.
Now, did you say matrix or metrics?
Metrics.
Metrics, measurables.
Metrics, whatever you shown over there, the drop of the milk with the.
Oh yeah. That's a matrix. That's here. Let me go back to screen share. That's a matrix of taxonomies. That's a matrix of taxonomies.
Matrix of taxonomy should be correct. If it's have any wrong information, then the AI will connect
exactly
wrong thing with wrong topic. So we should keep focus on this thing. It should be correct.
Absolutely. So speaking of structure, I just want to make sure I number my pages here.
Mm-hmm.
But so let's talk more about that matrix in a second. And I want to tell you about one of the most memorable conversations of my life, which was with a professor at the University of California at Irvine. I just went to his office one Friday afternoon. I'd never met him. He'd never met me. But I'd heard about him, and so I said, hey, I want to talk with you. And he said, okay, I'll give you 5 minutes. Anyway, one of the things I learned in those 5 minutes is there does not exist a perfect taxonomy. A perfect, let's just call it let me call it a one and only, right? Perfect taxonomy, or even complete taxonomy. And then what's really interesting is this was that fact, which he basically cited as an empirical truth. MC Michael Call later told me about a French philosopher who had basically proven the same thing. But anyway, what's the point I'm trying to make is there is no such thing. There does not exist a perfect matrix. Okay, and that's okay because there's a concept that I developed when I was at Microsoft, which is that of a wixonomy. A wixonomy is a wiki taxonomy, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, with a wix, we basically just have a giant Wikipedia of taxonomies, and in fact, GitHub is a perfect place to do that. In fact, actually, this is a really important point. Let me just make this very clear on video. You know how, like, right now we're using Google Hangouts. We're not trying to, like, roll our own, video conferencing thing or cobble it together or whatever. We're just like, you know what? Google Hangouts works. YouTube works. Let's use it, right? Likewise, GitHub just works. So let's just use it to open source as like an open source repository of all of our taxonomies, of the entire Wixonomy, right? So that, we'll put a taxonomy there, or the beginning of a taxonomy, and let other people build them out. Because other people...
Awesome. you know, Jamin, let me screen share here real quick. 1 second. You know, it just so happens that, you know, GitHub, these repositories can come with a wiki, right, baked right into. Here's our. I'm going to flip to EOS here. EOS is just an example of what, you know, a really fleshed out page might look like. Or, you know, one of these repos. Let me find one. Oh, here we go. So this is the EOS JS package here, and up here they have a wiki. And I think it actually, yeah, I haven't used this too much in GitHub. I know that this is this can somehow coordinate with whatever is being developed in the project itself. So like a wiki will automatically kind of like fill in with data related to the parallel project. FYI.
Got it. Good, great to know. Great to know. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So, what I'm envisioning is that there will be some kind of, you know, file format that we'll be able to use for, you know, to store a taxonomy, any taxonomy, you name it, large or small. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, let's just call it file.tax for a taxonomy, TAX. Imagine that on GitHub itself, I'm able to publish a taxonomy, and, you know, Jamin's taxonomy of kangaroos.tax, boom, and I put it up there. Imagine that somebody else can then take that and fork it or branch it, you know, whatever the terminology is.
Fork.
And then fork, thank you. So they can fork it, and let's say they add a bunch of stuff to it, so it's now 10 times as big as what Jamin published. And I wake up the next morning and I'm drinking my coffee and I'm like, wow, thank you, right, for expanding that taxonomy. And then somebody else will then take what that expanded one and expand it even more. And then somebody else will come with some pruning shears and, you know, rationalize it and refactor it and take out the redundancies and make it way, way better. And on and on and on, right? By forking. So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about a Wixonomy. But then imagine a whole playground, a whole sandbox where anyone can come and create taxonomies of any kind and then fork. We do it all on GitHub, right?
Totally. And absolutely. Yeah. Makes
why not?
Sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And you see how we offload that whole problem onto GitHub.
Yeah.
Right. Rather than try to like reinvent the wheel somewhere. But we do need to find A, the format, and B, you know, the best way to implement it on GitHub. You know, make sure that it's ubiquitous and anyone can get on there and play with it. And and you see that's exactly why these kinds of meetings are so important, right? Because it's only in brainstorming this to and with our GitHub audience that we're able to really go to the far reaches and really imagine what's possible.
Yeah. I want to share something.
Go for it.
CP, you guys have anything to say? Go for it.
I also have a question regarding the uploading our code and everything to the GitHub.
Yeah.
Is there any possibility that someone stolen the idea for Radish.org and start?
That's a really great question. Let me tell you why it's not a concern. I'll tell you why it's not a concern. Radish is not. It's not just a software platform. Radish is an adventure. Radish is a way of life. It's a way of being.
Yes,
and, right.
That is for us. But if any people who is not a good person, who can misuse this feature?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. The thing is, you know, garbage in, garbage out is a saying that we have. Garbage in, garbage out. So if we have this really great piece of software called Radish and some bad guys steal it, you know, and then they go to some gray building someplace in the middle of I don't know where, and they're all evil, and they say, okay, now let's use this for evil purposes. You know, they're just going to generate a bunch of crap. And, you know, yeah, they'll be using brilliant tools, but they'll be using brilliant tools to generate crap. And because I don't know, I don't know how to prove that philosophically, but it seems kind of obvious to me. But anyway, look, it's definitely a risk, CP. The reality is there's a lot of risks associated with what we're doing. Look, when we go and try to refreeze the Arctic, there's a risk that we're going to do more harm than good. Right? Yes. You mess around with anything at this giant geo level, right? There's a risk that you're going to do more harm than good.
Yes, actually, because we have open source, so we can't ask anyone to you can't use our code or something like that, because it's open source. So
yeah, right. Well, here's the thing. I'm just I mean, I'm not worried about it for a whole bunch of reasons, and I'm just and part of it is the urgency that we make this go open source so that it can develop very rapidly, right? We have real urgency. And so, bottom line, it's a risk that I'm happy to take, very happy to take.
Okay.
That's all, right? So, but I do thank you for raising that. So, I believe. Yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Michael, you wanted to show something. Go ahead.
Well, go ahead, CP. What do you got to say?
No, I just asking that we are on GitHub. I think Jamin forgot what we are talking about. So I just remember them that we are talking about GitHub. That's it. Nothing more.
Okay. So here's a proposal. I think again, here's our repo. Here's our area for repos. We have no repositories yet. I'm just again going to one of my favorite projects, the EOS project. This is just an example of often that they have a whole documentation area.
Okay.
We can go to, and where then they have it's just one repo for documentations. They have things like a roadmap. This might be a good place for us to start, Jamin. Outlining a roadmap. This is also, this is a text document that can be just like code. It can be downloaded, edited locally, and then reintegrated, and or it can also be edited right here on the site.
Right.
These are often good places to start with a roadmap. It kind of lets it. They're going to come look like, okay, where are you at and where are you going? What's the sequence of things here? This is very common to do. They like to see that. And also, just a general, some kind of white paper or technical paper, maybe that kind of describes a little bit more from a technical perspective what we're doing. Maybe it doesn't need to be this complicated at first. We can start simple and keep building it like anything else. That's my proposal for the first things that we do here. Is get some just general documentation up, and from these documentations, then it's going to be a lot more clear what other more technical repos we make.
Yeah.
We can also make all of them at the same time. We can just make placeholder repos and just have them sitting there empty. We know what they're going to be too, and start filling them. But that's my proposal.
Yeah, totally. No, I love the idea of open sourcing all of that, because then even if we just put in like one paragraph, somebody else can take the ball and run with it.
Yeah,
and that's Radish for you. I mean, basically, GitHub is the closest thing to Radish that I've ever heard about.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's all about a platform enabling anyone and everyone to make micro contributions all over the place. And so I think it's actually quite natural that we end up essentially building whole parts of Radish on GitHub. And that's where they live, and that's where the data lives. And it's just kind of like, anyway. So, and then right there on those Radish documents, right, we can post, links to these kinds of videos like we're recording right now, right? Say, look, here's the basic idea in a couple of paragraphs. If you really want to get the context for it, here's the meeting that this came out of, right? That sort of thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that, you see, that's where we inject Radish into GitHub. We're injecting our video culture, right? And we're
Mm-hmm.
injecting our taxonomies, and we're just loading up all this stuff into GitHub. And then we'll have strategic documents about the strategy of each piece, and it all, of course, cross-references each other.
Yeah.
All the different projects will cross-reference each other. So back to the matrix. Having established that there is no perfect matrix, there will simply be better and better and better and better and better taxonomies, right?
Yes.
Because they're open sourced, right? Every taxonomy will be open sourced. We'll encourage people to upload whole taxonomies, right, from wherever they can get them. Just for example, remember I mentioned a bit ago that there's some truck with 17,000 parts? Imagine having that entire taxonomy of any vehicle, right, with thousands of parts. That's huge, right? Because there's so much technology and knowledge encoded in that taxonomy, right? That can then be used as other mechanical engineers create other mechanical systems, for example, for refreezing the Arctic, right? We need this programmatic access to all of this knowledge, right, in taxonomic form. So really, so CP, what I'm doing is, number one, I'm validating your point that you made earlier, saying that we need to have a really good matrix. We have a bad matrix, we're not gonna have good results. So absolutely, but let's think of that matrix as something that's going to be constantly evolving and getting better and better and better.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right. Okay. And then that way, what's interesting is you're going to see this dialectic, this coevolution between the matrix of taxonomies and the mapping software, including the mapping AI neural networks and everything, that basically, like the big cow that digests all this information, right, with all of its stomachs. Think of like different AI layers inside of the cow, right? Mapping to matrices, mapping certain stuff to one matrix, other stuff to another, and then cross-referencing the two, and then blah, because basically the AI is going to have this giant neural network that includes all the taxonomies.
Yes.
The brain of the neural network includes all the taxonomy. So it's like it's already got the structure already in the brain.
Yes.
It's already there.
Yes, man.
I just have to send a text real quick. Okay, thanks for your patience. So, So imagine this dialectic learning machine between constant evolution of the matrix of taxonomies and constant evolution of the AI that digests information and maps it to those taxonomies. It's so cool, right? And
so complex.
It's, oh my goodness, it's infinitely complex, because ultimately, what do we need? We need all the information in the world. We need all the information in the world, all the knowledge in the world, academia, patent database, Wikipedia, New York Times, encyclopedia this, right? The entire database of some automobile company, for example, has made open source a lot of their stuff. And so what's really going to be cool here is whole companies will come in and take the lead and start giving us their databases, their taxonomies, right? I mean, literally, imagine a taxonomy of an automobile. There are millions of person years of innovation and thought and analysis and design and testing that have gone into any modern automobile. Millions of person years, because they all copy each other. A ball bearing is a ball bearing is a ball bearing, right? They all copy each other. So anyway, I'm just saying, even if we get, we don't need all the world's information. We just need a rich enough set of examples. And then the AI will have access to it and be able to leverage all of that. It all goes into the matrix of taxonomies.
Yes.
So, will GitHub the Wixonomy? What's a Wixonomy? It's the set of all taxonomies, right? Crossed with the freedom to fork any one of those in any way that you want, right? That's a Wixonomy, okay? So the Wixonomy will be on GitHub. All the AI code will be on GitHub. All the architecture of the neural networks and everything else, it'll all be on GitHub. And it'll just all be constantly evolving. I imagine we'll start with some concrete examples of some concrete technical papers from academia, right? There are papers that directly relate to refreezing the Arctic. There are a lot of papers about geoshading, for example, right? And so we'll take some of those and we will manually map them to taxonomies that we manually create. And AI, with its pattern matching abilities, will be able to learn from what we show it manually, right?
Yes.
So we'll start doing that, and then we'll start generalizing from that and creating more and more algorithms, and we'll co-create with the AI the mapping, right?
Right.
We'll co-create it. And again, that's where like the natural language processing comes in.
Yes.
And because that's a whole branch of AI that's very specific, right? And in fact, I was talking with a relative over dinner tonight who is doing work in the medical industry, doing natural language processing coding to extract very specific information from very specific medical documents, right? I mean, this is stuff that people in the private sector are doing all the time these days. Natural language processing.
I have one more question
Yes,
regarding the language. Is it possible that some videos is in Chinese, some is in Japanese? So how will extract the information from that? Like some newspaper is not in English, but they are in French language or Chinese language. Then how will extract the information? Or key
yeah. So
language will be English or
no. Here's what. Let me tell you what I envision. Okay, what I envision is we're going to have taxonomies in all these different languages.
Okay.
Because like a Chinese taxonomy, it's not just a reflection of the information itself, right? Yeah, the pure information should be able to be mapped in any language. It shouldn't matter, right? But a taxonomy made in Chinese reflects it's the information and it's mashed up with Chinese culture, right?
Okay.
Because in China, they think about the world in a particular way, right? It's much more ordered. It's much more logical. Things are, things have a definite place and an order and a way that things should be, right?
Exactly.
In the United States, we're crazy. We're all over the place. There's no order. And, and in India, I imagine there's much more respect for the sacred.
Yes.
Right? The sacred, the mystical. So the taxonomies that will be made in India in English, right, will be of a certain nature. The taxonomies made in India in Hindi will be of a certain nature.
Exactly. Exactly. And the definition makes the change of the the it's completely different. Yes. Exactly.
Exactly. And also there are way different distinctions, right, in one language versus another, right?
Okay.
Whole different like for example, I forget the exact number, but the First Nations people way up north in Alaska, right? What is now called Alaska and northern Canada, they have something like 26 different words for the word snow.
Oh my God. 26 words.
Look, I don't remember the exact number. Maybe it's 17, right? But it's
Oh.
a big number, right? It's like, you got to be kidding me. But see, that's the thing, because they need to know about very fine powder snow that just fell, that's just feather light. A different kind of snow is that same snow, but the next day after, the sunset, and then now it's a little bit harder. It's still very fine, but a little bit harder. All the way to just packed snow that's basically ice.
Yes.
Because that's what they live and breathe. They make igloos out of it. They live inside of it. They eat it. They drink it. It's their world, right?
It's beauty of their culture, actually.
Exactly. Well, likewise, if you look at the Bengali language, do you speak Bengali by any chance?
No.
Okay. The Bengali language, right, reflects all, thousands of years of culture and, food and, way of life and all this stuff. So now, but this is actually really cool, because check this out. All of these different Wixonomies in all these different languages, right, present a certain, set of perspectives on the world, certain set of perspectives, right, that are so different from each other. But the cool thing is the AI will be able to swim like a fish between the waters of the different language. The AI is just like, wow, this is cool. And the different perspectives will help all of us to create. So for example, it may well be, I've got a bunch of friends who are Bengali. It may well be that in Bengali culture, I don't know this for a fact, in Bengali history and culture, they've got all these political solutions that you and I have never heard of, never thought of.
Yes.
Because they're not part of our culture, or your culture, my culture, Mexican culture, whatever culture. But in Bengali, so poof, they'll be able to represent these solutions taxonomically. And then guess what? We can then map them to Hindi, map them to English, map them to Spanish, map them to Japanese. And then it's like, ooh, wow, look what the Bengali have come up with. Ooh, right?
Yeah.
And then blah, 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 blah. All these conversations can then happen around it in English. And then the AI is listening to that too. And it's like, ooh, the English speakers are waking up. They're starting to realize the Bengali wisdom.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
That's what I'm talking about. So, you see, through all these conversations, the one we're having right now is a really beautiful conversation. Through all these conversations, we are co-creating a vastly higher form of intelligence than anything that's been seen on Earth to date. Because we're going to be leaps and bounds ahead of AI. AI alone is very smart these days and getting smarter every day. But
yes,
what we're doing is we're crossing individual human intelligence with whole population human intelligence, whole cultures, with histories, with everything they've ever invented, the entire United States patent database and the entire Japanese patent database.
Oh my God.
The entire Indian patent database.
Very use, very use.
Everything. We need to get all these databases. Wikipedia in English, Wikipedia in Dutch, Wikipedia in German. For the same reason. That's what, Wikipedia, they don't try to do just one language. No, they were way too smart for that. So
Yes.
Let's be smart too.
Yes, yes. Okay.
So we're gonna spawn multiple projects, all on different sections of the Radish GitHub account, and you see here's the thing is, through this medium of having these recorded video conferences, we get to just whiteboard it out and then put it out there, right? The entire technical strategy document for a whole project could be 5 words. Watch the attached video.
Yes.
You want to know what this is about? Watch this video. And then in some cases, because in some cases, that's all we have time for. Hey, guys, got this great idea. Got to run. Got to go pick up my mom, whatever. Boof. Put it out there. That's radical collective intelligence in action.
Yes.
And as the community grows, the best ideas will bubble to the top. And those best ideas, somebody will speak them. It's a brilliant idea. Draw a couple pictures, put it out there. Somebody else will grab the baton and run and run and run. And then, and then drop it for somebody else to pick it up. And then they'll take it and run, run, run. Boom, 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 boom. That's how this works.
Yes.
So let's jump into it. Let's jump into that swimming pool naked. And let's create a giant party out of this.
Yes.
What could possibly be more fun, right?
Okay.
Okay, and then likewise, let's see among the taxonomies, like if you think back to brain swarming, the brain swarming thing and all that, ice on power lines, this. We can create a whole taxonomy, a brain swarming taxonomy for refreezing the Arctic ice.
Oh my God.
And then we put it up there and let the world through GitHub fork and 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 fork.
Yes.
That's it. That's it. And you know what? If the first format that we use for a taxonomy is nothing other than a Google spreadsheet, so be it. Right? Just like there's not a perfect taxonomy, there's not a perfect file format either.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
So we need to start with what we got and put this out there and keep pushing all the pieces out there. Right?
Yeah.
And we simply have to have faith that enough of humanity is going to wake up and get excited about this and get excited about saving life on Earth. Right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, because, we're going to build out a whole brainstorming taxonomy for refreezing the Arctic, another whole brainstorming taxonomy for building arcologies, a network of arcologies, so that enough human beings can survive to shut down all the nuclear power plants after civilization has collapsed.
Yes.
The arcologies need to be designed. Who better than Radical Collective Intelligence, using Google Hangouts, using GitHub, using wikis, using AI, using everything, using everybody. That's what Radical Collective Intelligence is.
Yes.
It's the world expressed through taxonomies and deep understanding of processes.
Exactly.
And modeling of processes.
Hmm. Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
And with the brain swarming and anyone being able to come in at any time and conversations happening all the time, opening up people's minds and perspectives. You know, you'll have some woman in Japan speaking Japanese and the words are instantaneously transcribed onto the screen. And some guy in Holland is going to be reading in Dutch what the woman is saying in Japanese. And then he'll start replying, ooga blaga, bliga blaga, bliga blaga, 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 blah. Right? And then the woman will see the words in Japanese on the screen.
Yes.
Everybody's going to be able to talk to everybody all the time. And what's really fascinating, so as the world continues to fall apart, people are going to wake up, what? Go to Radish, go to Radish. It'll be like a lifeboat. It'll be like a lifeboat for people. Really? Seriously.
Just like WhatsApp and Facebook, when people wake up, they check the WhatsApp and Facebook in the morning as a first step. They should go to Radish for that.
Exactly. Because if they go to Radish, they will see their notifications. There may be some red alerts that RCI needs you urgently in this conversation right here, right now. Bam.
Exactly. Don't waste your time in WhatsApp and Facebook. Go to Radish and
Don't waste your time.
Because it's not status of life. It's life of your.
It's life of all of us. And so we're creating the perfect platform. Remember I said the perfect platform doesn't exist. We're creating the perfect platform for humanity to come together to save life on Earth. What could be more beautiful than that? What could be more beautiful?
Nothing.
Nothing. There's no advertisement for a Toyota SUV
yes.
that could possibly be more beautiful. In fact, Toyota SUVs are part of the problem. We're the solution. Big difference.
Exactly.
Big difference.
Yes.
So I think we're doing a really great job envisioning what's possible, right? Imagining what's possible. This is huge. This is absolutely huge. So I kind of don't even know where to go next. I mean, well, why don't we just keep on mapping stuff out? Why not? Right?
Yes.
Let's see here. All right. Okay, so let me go back to screen share and then I'll do like a quick review. Okay. All right. So where did we start? Well, here's where we are now.
Yes.
We're pushing the cutting edge, where we're going on the cutting edge. We talked about some basic stuff we need to do, transcription, indexing plus, and let's just, let's GitHub what the heck that means, right? So then we'll get all the indexing. We'll get all the indexing experts on GitHub to talk about what does that mean. And we'll have a whole conversation about mapping. You see, here's one of the places I'm going with that. For each of these, whether it's the big topic number one, RCI for techies, which is basically what we're doing right now, right? So right now, this is the first conversation. At the end of tonight, that one will be done. A week, 2 days later, we'll have this one. 5 days later, this one. 2 days later, this one. 5 days later, this one. That's if we do it twice a week, right?
Okay.
But we'll figure out what frequency. Likewise, for this topic, let's have a series. For this topic, let's have a series of conversations.
Okay.
And on and on and on and on. Anything that's got a number or a T in it, like you see here. Anything with a number or a T in it, let there be a weekly series of conversations. Why not? Right? It could be a 5-minute weekly. It could be a 5-minute meeting. Anything new this week? Nope. All right. Well, anything you guys want to talk about? Nope. Well, I got something. Well, what? Blah 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 blah, and that's it. 5 minutes.
Okay. Yes.
That's it.
Put that in series so that. Yes.
Yeah. And then, we'll have one on the topic of solutions. What does it mean? What is a solution? How do we represent it? Right?
Yes.
Another one on ontology and natural language processing and all that good stuff. Because it could be, what's the latest? Have you heard about this? Right?
Yes.
This is where the experts come together and update us on that. And they tell us how they're using it in the mapping, how they're using it in Project Academia, how they're using it with the patent database. Oh, yeah, we're using this whole ontology thing and da-da-da. It's just going to be fascinating, right?
Yes.
Look, this whole set of innovations that we're talking about here is like the Gutenberg printing press. Once the world got the Gutenberg printing press, it never looked back. And nothing was ever the same again. Ever.
Oh, that's great.
This is like that moment. This is the moment when humanity and artificial intelligence finally come together and make love.
Yes.
This is that moment. This is that moment. And it's the sexiest thing imaginable, because it's not just like two different species making love. It's a species with a whole different thing. AI is a whole different thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
So anyway, and what's going to be cool here, like Project Academia, it's going to start out as one conversation. And then with forking, it's going to split into two. Right? And then, you can imagine ultimately there's there's going to be so many conversations, so many series just on Project Academia, right? That there'll be one for basically every topic. One for every topic, because actually this greatly simplifies it. This reminds me of a conversation I had with Bill Gates one time, actually. I was trying to convince Bill to take very seriously this project I was leading called Project Venice within Microsoft, where it was to span all industries. I wanted Microsoft to become the leader in online marketplaces for each and every specific industry, right? So this is like that. For each and every specific topic, we're going to have an indexing and mapping community. A whole community focused on each and every individual topic.
Yes.
And that way, it's not like we need to create the best indexing and mapping software ever. No, all we need to do is do this. Branch out all, see to the right here, the lower right. Branch, branch, branch. This is what we need to do. Branch, 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 branch. Build out the taxonomy of all the academic topics, and then have a community. I don't care if they do it manually, right? Let them get together with the natural language processing folks and basically say, all right, what are all the keywords in your topic?
Mm-hmm.
What are all the keywords? And because we're going to get so specific down here, right? It's like a head of broccoli. Going to get so specific that there will be a limited set of keywords for each. And you know what's really cool? There will be inheritance. Michael Gaio and I both like C++. There will be inheritance, 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 inheritance.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the beauties of a taxonomy. You get inheritance.
Yes.
Right? Okay. This is absolutely revolutionary, what we're talking about here. Never been done before, barely ever even been talked about before. We're right on the cutting edge here. So back to the digester.
Yes.
Wow. Now we got a matrix of taxonomies, of topics. And through all these different projects, we'll get all the information in the world and run it through the digester. But then, of course, you know, every week, you know, RCI is basically inventing a whole new cow, right?
Yes.
Better and better versions of the cow itself. Better and better versions of the matrix. Better and better access to more and more information, right?
Yes.
It's just going to go and go and go and go. But then, since we're talking strategy here, what's really going to drive this, okay, the big driver of this is going to be, we're going to refreeze the Arctic this summer, right?
Yes.
And the world is going to see a big check mark. Mission accomplished. And then what's going to happen? That's going to cause a whole bunch of smart people, right?
Yes.
To go to Radish. And then, with all those smart people working, we're going to create a whole bunch of solutions. And, you know, along the way, we're going to build a whole bunch of understanding, a whole bunch of knowledge and understanding, including building better and better versions of AI itself. And all these solutions are going to result in a whole bunch of check, clean up the ocean, check, sequester carbon, check, sequester methane, check,
Mm-hmm.
heal the Amazon rainforest, check. And look at this red hot virtuous cycle. What a virtuous cycle. There's no end to it.
Yes. It's
No end to it.
keep continuing. Right. Keep continuing. It's never end.
So, so really, one of the biggest, most important things we need to do is keep building out this list, right?
Yes.
Because that's, you know, I mean, it's kind of like this, right? We're building out a taxonomy. You know, we're starting with the highest level things, and then we just keep refining and expanding and refining and expanding. Expanding is going this way, right? With the taxonomies, right? In other words, don't just stop with, you know, this and that and that. You know, it means like, well, what about that? Oh, let's go way over here, right?
Hmm.
Oh, and what about that, right? That's going. See, that's going broad. That's going broad. That's what I'm talking about here, going broad, going broad. And then the other dimension is going deep, rooting down, going deep. Right?
Yes.
So we need to go broad and we need to go deep in our topics.
Yes. Broad and deeper.
Broad and deep. That's it. So, but I think this is a pretty good start, right? We've got the general, which is what we're talking about now. We went right out to the cutting edge. I think we're going to need, frankly, I think we're going to need to backfill on future ones. But actually part of the backfill is, you know, what exactly is RCI? I'm going to do a series of 5-minute videos just detailing exactly what RCI is.
Okay.
That way we get on the same page. With what we're doing now by recording our meetings, the world will quickly get up to speed with what we've developed, right? And
Yes.
where we're going, right? And then we'll keep just pushing the cutting edge. Push, 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 push. But really, it's not just one edge. It's just like we were talking about. It becomes this whole taxonomy. Just go broad, go deep. Just keep going broad, keep going deep. Keep going broad, keep going deep. And then, of course, we need lots and lots of people to populate all this. But you see, the really cool thing is the people who jump in first, the people who jump in early, get to be the pioneers, right?
Yes.
That's the advantage.
They will be the pillars.
The pillars, exactly. And law number 1 of the 22 immutable laws of marketing, it's better to be first than it is to be better.
Yes. That's true.
Yeah, better to be first. So, anyway, let's figure out the most efficient way of building out these taxonomies, building out these projects. What I think would be really cool is if specifically Michael and CP, if you guys, you know, could maybe huddle sometime. This could be, you know, a multi-hour meeting or something, and I can be in for parts of it. But I'd really like for you guys to really root down and figure out what is our playbook for rolling out new topics, because we're going to want to roll out a whole bunch of topics, right? And then record introductory videos for each.
Okay.
We want to get more and more little birds out of the nest. And yeah, you know, they're going to have trouble at first flapping, but, you know, we need an off-ramp to get them out of the nest, get them flying, and then they'll take off on their own, and hopefully they'll make us grandchildren one day, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So we need to be able to start launching topics, and you know, we just need a whole playbook around it. How do we launch a topic on GitHub, and then how do we get it on the calendar so that we can record a, you know, even if it's a 5-minute video. I think the best videos are 5-minute videos. You get right to the point, and boom, and we launch it, right?
Okay. Yes.
And people will come when they come. It'll be on GitHub. Some projects will sit on GitHub for weeks with no one touching it, and then it'll take off, right? So basically what we're doing is we're taking a whole bunch of dry seeds and we're going out into the field and throwing them here and throwing them there, you know, and then we'll go water specific seeds one at a time. Because the thing is, we're almost out of time. We need to refreeze the Arctic by this summer. If humanity comes together on this platform of radical collective intelligence, yes, we can do it. But with our current political systems and private sector and nonprofit sector and all the corruption and ego and greed and competition, I don't think we can get there with the boat we've got. I think we need a bigger boat. To paraphrase Jaws, we need a bigger boat. This is that bigger boat. So come build it with us. I'm just speaking to the world. I'm speaking to the rest of our sisters and brothers. Come build it with us.
Yes.
Come build it with us.
Exactly. Exactly.
There's nothing more to say. There is only do, and do now, because the Arctic is melting now.
Yes. Once the time lost, then nothing will be in our hand. So,
Right. And the thing is, we can do this kind of beautiful work now because we have a functioning world. We have a world that basically works. Right?
yes.
We have internet. You can drive down the street, drop your son off at school, come to the office and work for 8 hours, and you don't have to worry. Right? The school is working. The principal is working. The fire department is working. Everything's working. But at the rate we're going, it won't be working for long. That's why we've got to act right now, now, and refreeze the Arctic by this summer. That's just the first thing we got to do. And then remember all the other check marks that we need to fill in.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
So I really propose, I think that the first thing we really need is a roadmap. And I don't think it should be a video. I think we should really just outline that in a standard document that we can even reference really easily. And it just makes it kind of like black and white, crystal clear. You can just scan it 1 second kind of thing. I think that's the really key thing, is a roadmap that, you know, that we can peg to this timeline that we're talking about of the summer. Because then when we have that, we can kind of work backwards then and going, you know, what are then the pieces that we need in order to get there?
Totally,
so
totally.
I propose that's something that we, you know, write up right away. And that should be the first document we put up.
Totally.
Because from that, then the technical paper and all that then becomes defined based on what our timeline is. Because in any project like this, you know, you have to have, like, you know, there's the constraint of resources, time, and one other thing. What's the other thing? There's another third one. Features, exactly. And in this case, I think time is our definite current constraint. The other ones need to, if they're going to bend and be flexible, they need to be flexible to that. We will get as much as we can inside that time, but that's definitely the guiding constraint. So,
yep,
we should do that first.
Yep. Okay. So how about tomorrow, Michael? Do you have time tomorrow? You and I can get together.
Michael, I think you are muted. You are muted.
Thank you, CP. Yeah. Yes. I said yes, Jamin. I don't know what time tomorrow, but we can definitely find some time tomorrow. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Yeah, we can do that tomorrow.
Okay. So just hit me up via text whenever you want to refine the window, and we'll get it on the calendar, and we'll just sit down and we'll start typing it up.
Okay. Great.
And then we'll email it to CP and Ram Gopal and the rest of the team.
Okay.
And then we can also, let's you and I just take a crack at which ones of these we want to launch on GitHub first, second, third, boom, boom, boom. Let's have a schedule for that, because you know we've got to keep in mind there are hundreds, thousands of other people like us who also are passionate about saving life on Earth, and we need to bring them all in. We need to bring everybody in.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's getting kind of late. Should we stop recording now? Why don't we stop recording, and then we can just have, you know, an offline meeting amongst all of us, and then talk about. Okay. Anything else? Is there anything else any of you gentlemen would like to say before we stop recording? I'm going to go on mute and take your time. Say anything you have to say. Are we good? Okay, I see a thumbs up from CP, and I assume you're speaking for Ram Gopal as well. Thumbs up from Michael Gallo. All right. Thanks so much. Thank you, Ram Gopal. All right. That was cool. Okay, great to see everyone, and thank you all for watching. Nobody hang up, please. Nobody hang up. I'm just going to stop broadcasting and stop recording.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome, and thank you all for watching. Okay, stopping broadcasting now.